Well, hello, champions. Today we're going to talk about this idea, and that's the idea of why refinancing, why refinancing your home is a bad idea, and what you should do instead. Okay, so first of all, the word "re" means what to do something over, and finance means to do what refinance or finance something all over again. So, what are you financing? What are you financing all over again? When you refinance your home. You're refinancing the mortgage that you got. But first of all, let me explain to you what a mortgage really is, because once you understand this, you'll understand that you definitely don't want to do that all over again. So what happens? You walk into the bank and you say, listen, I'd like to get $100,000 house. They say, cool. So you need a loan to buy a home for $100,000. You say, yes, that's correct. They said, all right, wonderful. Let's see what your credit is like. Let me have your social security number, your address, so forth and so on. So we acquiesce and we say, of course, you can have all of that because that sounds reasonable for me to be able to get a loan from you. So you give them all the information. They take your social security number and they call up the Federal Reserve and they take your application and they send it to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve says, what you have here. And the bank says, I have somebody with a 750 credit score. They say, wow, that's beautiful. That's gravy. I tell you what, let them know that yes, they get $100,000. So the bank says, cool. And they say, you know what? Our agreement with you for being part of the Federal Reserve System, the bank that is we're going to give you a $300,000 credit on your books for this $100,000 loan that the person asked for. That's why you have to pay $300,000 back on your mortgage that you only asked $100,000 for. That's called amortized interest. The only interest in the world that you can pay 3 times more for what something costs is amortized interest. They don't even get you that bad at the payday loan place. They don't even get you that bad with a juiced up credit card. It's only one source on the planet where you can pay 3 times what it was that you asked for, and it's legal. Even though it should be illegal, it's legal. So that's when you buy a house. So what happens? You created your own note from the Federal Reserve. That's why it's called a mortgage note, because it's what? It's a promissory note. You created your own promissory note when you, with your good credit, went into the bank and asked for a loan. The bank did not loan you the money because the bank's laws state that they cannot loan you mortgage money from out of their assets. The only way that they can loan you the money is it has to come directly from the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve loans the money to you via a credit to the bank, and you got to pay back 3 times what it was that you paid. That's why the first 10 years of your mortgage, you're barely paying any of the principal. You're paying mostly interest. When you look at your mortgage statement, you have a whole lot of interest that's accrued, a whole lot of interest that's been paid off. And then finally, towards the last 20 years, if you get a 30-year mortgage, finally towards the last 20 years, you see that mortgage is actually getting paid off. So that's called amortized interest. And it's big business. It's quadrillion dollar business. That's why the Federal Reserve makes $36 million an hour in interest only. So you study the Federal Reserve, look up this book called The Creature from Jekyll's Island and see how the Federal Reserve was created. And then you'll understand the dynamics behind a mortgage. Now, another thing you'll notice about your mortgage is that, pull it out right now while you're talking, put me on pause for a second while we're talking, pull your mortgage out and start looking through it. And you'll notice that there is no signature from the bank. The only person who signed it is you. And you say, why is that, King? Well, the reason that is, king and queen, is because the bank did not loan you the money. So because they didn't loan you the money, they can't sign the mortgage note. And the reason they can't sign it is because they don't have any consideration of it, which means that your mortgage note, period, by itself is not even a legal document because the only person's signature on it is yours. And if you went to court about your mortgage, they would have to what? Give you your house in the first place and discard your fake mortgage because it's not even real anyway, if you wanted to take the time to go to court and challenge it. Look up the case LaSalle versus LaSalle and how am I going blank now? LaSalle and the LaSalle Bank, and I'll think about it. So there's a lady, I can't even think of her name right now, but anyway, so it's a woman who won her case with LaSalle Bank, and they tried to foreclose on her house, and they couldn't because it's a fake mortgage in the first place. I don't know where my mind is going blank. I'm getting old. So anyway, so your mortgage is not signed. I'm not that old. I know that mortgage is not signed. So you just go on there and you look all the way through your paperwork, and you'll notice that you signed it, but the bank didn't, because they can't sign it, because they didn't loan you any money. The money was given to you from as a note that was created by your credit. Your credit created the note. In other words, you the one that created the money for your mortgage. So your mortgage is a fraudulent document in the first place. Most people aren't aware of that, so I just want to make sure that you understand that. So now you decide, you know what, Rick, or whoever it is that you're doing business with, that you want to pull some money from out of your house because it's just sitting there stagnant. Now, it's a good idea to move money around and to make sure that you can circulate money. All wealthy people, we don't believe in stagnant money sitting still that's not serving a purpose. We don't believe in that. And if you look up Robert Kiyosaki and see how he does all of his real estate deals, he pulls the money from out of his houses. However, what I'm saying that you should absolutely positively not do is that you should not refinance the house if you're going to pull some money out. Why? Because you start the tedious process again of starting your mortgage process all over again. So let's just say that you're up to year 15 and you've got $500,000 worth of equity in your $1 million house. You say, well, I'm going to pull that money out, Rick. I'm like, okay, well, you want to make some moves with your money. That makes sense. You say, so I'm going to get me in what, I'm going to refinance the house. I'm like, whoa, don't do that. Do not do that. You say, why not? Because you're going to start the mortgage process all over again. So now you're going to go and have another 30-year loan. So you already paid 15 years, and now you're going to start another 30-year loan. So that's going to be 45 years before this thing is paid for. And you're paying 3 times what it was that you borrowed in the first place. So it would make a whole lot more sense to do would be to get a home equity line of credit. That way you're only paying for the money that you actually borrow. And it's not amortized. It's just regular simple interest. It's not that amortized 3 times interest. It's just regular simple interest. And that regular simple interest is not costing you an arm and a leg. That's why people leave out of the place and they call them Eileen. Why? Because they got one eye and one leg left when they leave about the bank. I'm like, what's your name, girlfriend? Eileen. One eye cost me one eye and one leg while I was up in there. Why? That's what them amortized loans do. So if you're wondering why you leaning, you ought to be leaning on the everlasting arm, not leaning when you leave up out of that bank. Are you hearing me? So if you're going to pull money from out of any of your properties, get a home equity line of credit. And that way you'll only be paying the interest on the amount of money that you actually borrowed. No extra interest, none of that. They actually have to sign that. So you actually have a real signed document there, because that money can be loaned directly from out the bank. So it's a legitimate loan. It's not a fraudulent mortgage. Okay. So that's why I'm telling you today that it's not a good idea to refinance your house. It makes a whole lot more sense to just get a home equity line of credit. Okay. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. I love you all. Ain't nothing you can do about that. And remember now that stellar is as stellar does. Have an awesome day until next time.